to meet Clifton
with your host, Ray Grabowski.
Here's Ray.
Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to Meet Clifton, the show that's all about your hometown. With me tonight is my co-host, George Silva. How you doing, George, buddy?
I'm doing very well. I was really impressed with the parade, Ray.
That's good.
One of the best ones I've seen.
So many of you may have seen me marching, and I know most of Meet Clifton was there in some capacity. George even had a front row seat by the review stand.
I've seen everything.
Yeah, I know you enjoyed it.
It was outrageous.
Yeah, it was a very good parade. And the best
30 floats, 15 bands. It was the best I've seen since I've been in Clifton.
Nah, George, I couldn't have said it better. So instead, let's get off with the big shout out and start out with the show. So sit back. We'll be right back.
If I give my heart to you, I must be sure from the very start that you...
On tonight's episode, Ray's guests are neuropsychologist Beata Sylvia Beaudoin, PhD, doctors of chiropractic George and Peter Scordilis, and Clifton Roadies Wildcats manager Mike Soccol, with music by the Two Tones. All this on Meet Clifton.
Welcome to Meet Clifton. Our first guest tonight is an expert on child psychology and the anxiety that develops in the mind. Help me welcome Dr. Beata Sylvia Beaudoin, neuropsychologist.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
How are you doing, sir?
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Anxiety is a big issue, and you know it encompasses a lot of people and adults, children. It affects everyone now. Especially children. That's why we want to have you on the show. We're going to talk about children. So my first question to you is, how has child anxiety changed over the years?
Well, anxiety used to be more prevalent in situations where survival was a real concern. You know, there were hard times and a lot of wars and such in the past, and so there was a real focus to the anxiety. Over time, things have changed so much. There's more pressures educationally for children to perform over time, and now social media and the internet has created a constant flow of information, and so it's very hard to keep up and for children to process their emotional reactions when so many messages are coming at them so quickly, especially messages that they're being evaluated constantly.
Right, because anxiety is a fear.
Yes.
So it's an oncoming fear. They get anxiety. It's a fear of something. I know you're saying in the past it was something that was a real danger, but now it's not a real danger. It's more of a psychological thing in the mind. So why should we be concerned about this with our kids?
Well, anxiety provides a risk factor for so many other conditions. If you're feeling unsure of yourself, then you can start to get really down on yourself more and feel like you're not confident about life and success, and so you can get depressed. And the depression can lead to thoughts about suicide and self-harm, and also lead to things like substance abuse because they're trying to dull that emotional expression.
Right, and I know a lot of parents are concerned. I think George and I were talking before the show, and he had a question I thought you could probably answer better than anyone else.
How would I know if my child had anxiety?
Well, the signs of anxiety in children are very similar to the signs of anxiety in adults. I mean, just physically, you can even see when kids make less eye contact, they're maybe touching their faces a lot, they're getting less interested in activities that they used to enjoy. They're speaking quickly and avoiding a lot of tasks.
Right, so I understand, I know it changes the way they think, and I'm wondering how the anxiety might affect their brains, you know, how they process new information.
Well, in a variety of ways. One is that in social media, a lot of kids are going after those likes. They want everybody to like their post, right? So that can short circuit reward centers in the brain a little bit and make you focused on just that one superficial aspect. And so you're constantly in this evaluation mode, and the brain basically has two levels of functioning, to keep it simple. One is this fight or flight area, which is in the midbrain area, and then you've got the cortex, which is the second floor essentially of the brain, which does a lot of the problem solving. And so if they're constantly in this fight or flight mode, they can't access the skills they need in order to really cope and solve their problems from a thinking-based perspective.
Right, and I just want to ask you this, and I know it's a little not off topic, but when they have the symptoms of anxiety, there's a lot of them, but they're pretty much similar in all cases, right? The hyperventilating, the panic, you want to run. So I guess if kids are in the situation and they start getting these feelings, then there's a type of avoidance, I would think, right?
Yes, avoidance is very, very common. And anxiety can present in slightly different ways in different people. Some people are more physically attuned, where they have that heavy breathing. And some kids stay in their heads a lot and just think, I'm not going to succeed, and they don't really have as many physical symptoms, but they do resemble each other.
Right, so this is a big issue, and that's since we're talking about children. What can the parents do to help to reduce anxiety? Should they be aware of it?
Oh, absolutely. One of the big problems, too, is that there isn't enough conversation really going on between kids and their parents a lot of times. Parents are also stressed. There's more and more pressures on parents being productive and showing success, not only for themselves, but also how their children are doing, even on social media, right?
No, I understand. And there's some stigma attached to it, too. Some kids are probably afraid to talk about it. So what would you suggest to someone that are close to these kids, if they're aware of the situation? How would they go about helping their children with this?
Well, first of all, taking media breaks, I think, is very important. So both for parents and for their children, to just take some time out and just spend time with each other, or, perhaps take a walk somewhere and just have a genuine conversation.
No, I aware this is important. And do you think there's a propensity towards anxiety in families?
100%.
Because is it passed down somehow?
Yes, there is a genetic predisposition towards being more reactive. And so that can absolutely be passed down. And so the prevalence right now of anxiety disorders is about 25% in our youth. And there's even more kids who are presenting with symptoms that are not diagnosed. And so when parents are anxious, they really should be even more attuned to the fact that they might pass that on to their children.
And actually, that's my last question is, what are some of the signs that parents should look for? Because the kids might not they may not know what it is. And they're coming home, and maybe they're staying home, or they're, becoming a little antisocial, or they don't want to go out because they have this panic. So what could parents look for?
Well, they can look for those signs like avoiding those activities, as you were saying, and try to encourage their children to re-engage. And if they're feeling that resistance, then maybe they can clue in that anxiety might be causing some of that problem, and maybe then slow down and just pay attention to even the world around you. Take a break and try to resume a focus on just being quiet for a little bit so that you can then re-engage and cope. Because if you've got that basic relationship to start with, then you can cope with so much more and tolerate more distress that you might experience in your everyday life.
I know it's important. I guess the last thing I want to leave the audience with is, how important is getting help for this situation for your children, professionally?
Absolutely. If you address issues when they're at the level of anxiety, anxiety is a highly treatable condition. But if it's left untreated, then the kids have much greater risk of escalating to something like a depression or substance use issue.
And I think that's the big thing here, is that it's treatable, and if you notice any symptoms with your child, even adults, we're not talking about adults, but adults have it, you should seek help. There's no shame in these things anymore. It's so open and read about, it's all over the place. So I think that this is a good topic. Thank you for coming on, because this is something that we really need to get out there. And we'll be right back. Thank you.
You're just a fool, you know you're in love. You gotta face it and let it explode. You take the good along with the bad. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes sugar man. Listen, he's got a smile, I should be ashamed. Got me laughing when my heart is in pain. Oh no, I must be a fool, 'cause I do anything he wants me to. You're just a fool, you know you're in love. Tell me one more time. Hey.
Thank you, Two Tones, for that great song. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Let's talk about your back, all that walking you did
Hey, George,
on Sunday.
it was a great parade, and we did a lot of
Super
walking,
parade.
marching. My back held up pretty well. And I noticed you were sitting on the sidelines. You didn't do much walking.
I was helping somebody next to me.
Yeah, it's okay. I know you hung out with my mom there
Yes,
for a while,
I did.
which was nice. I appreciate
She
that.
didn't want me to leave.
But you know, sometimes the activities we engage in can put a strain on our bodies, and we need some relief. So our next guests are experts in spinal and neck injuries. Please welcome Dr. George Scordilis and Peter Scordilis.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Peter and George are both chiropractors in Clifton, and I'll start with George. What's the basic idea behind chiropractic?
Chiropractic was founded in 1895, and the basic premise is that we work with the brain, spine, and nervous system. And I brought a little model with you. So our premise is that the brain sends electrical impulses down the spinal cord and communicates with all the organs, tissues, and cells through these nerves. It's almost like a big computer with a central cord and then relays going to all the organs, tissues, and cells. So for example, right now your heart is beating, you're digesting your dinner. I hope you had dinner at
Yeah,
home.
of course I did. No, yeah.
Okay, so you had dinner. So you're doing all that unconsciously.
Right.
So that's being controlled by the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves. What happens is when a vertebra moves out of position, it puts pressure on a nerve and doesn't allow that nerve to function
Right.
properly, and then it causes a dysfunction in the body.
So I know you've been a chiropractor for, I see here,
39 years.
39 years. Has much changed in the field?
It's amazing the growth, not only in chiropractic, but in healthcare in general, with technology and just the advent of the internet and so many things, that the profession has grown from the time that I went to school compared to when Peter went to school to 10 years after Peter has graduated. Just it's grown tremendously. And when I went to school, it was basic learning chiropractic, manipulation of the spine, and that's it. When Peter went to school, there was a little more about rehab and nutrition, and now our chiropractors are being certified as specialists in neurology and orthopedics and in different areas of chiropractic and healthcare.
And it's my understanding also chiropractic is preventative.
Yes.
A lot of people go for prevention.
Yes.
I guess.
Well, initially they don't come for prevention,
Right.
but once we educate them, then hopefully they stay on for a wellness maintenance program.
Yeah, and I know I have here that, you know, we talk about neck and back pain, but what other cases have you seen?
When I graduated school, the premise was neck and back pain, and my third patient was a 3-month-old colicky baby that the mom had brought. The baby hadn't slept at all, and she heard that chiropractic helps. So my first child to adjust was a 3-month-old baby, and it was amazing. By the second adjustment, after I released what's called the sacrum down here, you heard a pop, the baby released some gas, and the baby fell asleep on my shoulder for 15 minutes, and that was the first time that the baby had actually fallen asleep. So chiropractic is a myriad of things. We help patients with allergies, with asthma, bedwetting, colic, people with digestive problems, all because of the first premise that I told you. The nervous system controls everything, and when the nervous system isn't functioning, it causes a dysfunction in the body.
Okay, and I understand that. So now to make the transition over to Peter, sports is big in this country.
Sure, absolutely.
Everyone does, and there's a lot of injuries. You see it all the time. Football players are out in injuries, baseball players. So as a sports chiropractor, are there some exercises these people can do to limit, or everyone, not just
Sure,
sports?
yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot more people coming in of all ages that are starting to get into exercise, and it's great to see people really getting into fitness and health. First thing we like to tell people is to start slow. Don't jump into a heavy routine right away. If you're just sitting on the couch, start walking. Walk 15 to 20 minutes a day. And then you really have to look at your flexibility and your posture, and that's kind of where we come in.
Right.
Whenever we have patients that come in that want to start a routine, we screen them first. We start to see if there's any limitations they may have. We fix those limitations, give them proper exercises to do, and then kind of roll them out. So flexibility and range of motion are a huge part of that. So to start with flexibility routine first.
And once we get that rolling, what can they do to try to prevent injuries?
Sure, yeah, prevention is a big key to what we do. What I usually tell people is if you're going to get with a professional, which I do recommend you do,
right,
find someone that knows your sport or knows your activity. If they know your activity, if they know what you're going to do, they can give you prescriptive exercises to help with some of the major problems. I know with my runners, I see almost all of them have weakness in their glute muscles. So every one of my runners, whether they're injured or not, get glute strengthening exercises. So these type of exercises are going to be prescribed by someone who knows your sport, who can give you the right things to do to fit so that you don't get injured.
So someone gets injured, what's the first thing they should do? Providing they don't have, a physician.
Absolutely. Well, they need to get checked, and they need to find someone who's familiar with what they do.
Right.
The worst thing you can possibly do is just wait and think it's going to go away. It never goes away. And even if the pain goes away, the problem may still be lingering, and then you're just looking at more problems down the road. So first thing you need to do when you get injured is get someone who knows what you're doing to look at it. That's a chiropractor, could be a trainer, could be someone, but in our case, we're very, very able to handle this type of situation. I see tons of athletes, including runners and swimmers, cyclists, and I'm able to give them prescriptive exercises to prevent and also to rehab them when they do get injured.
And I understand. And even an athlete, should they see someone, even if they're not injured? I think, part of a holistic approach would be to maybe start a program?
Absolutely, and that's where we come in. We're going to look at those, like we talked about, posture, range of motion. We're going to be able to pick up little things that can help the person both in their performance of their activity and also to make sure that they don't get injured. Performance is huge for anyone who's ever tried to do an event before. You can feel the difference when you can't do what you want to do. And that is across the board, not just with exercise. Maybe a grandmother wants to pick up their little kid, or someone who's just trying to get a little better at what they do. You want to get them past that level. You want to work on performance and get them to do better at whatever they're trying to do.
Right. So I think a good thing here is that you don't want to be injured to start with. So, and if you do, you want to get help. But it's important now because if you're injured, you can't work, you lose valuable time.
Absolutely.
So in George's case, the valuation for him would probably be weeks before they got him on the program.
Not that long.
But it would be a while. Now, I'd like to thank these gentlemen for coming on. It's good information. Obviously, staying healthy is the key in this world. So I'd like to thank them both. Thank you, George.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out to see the Centennial Parade that was just held this past Sunday. It was a beautiful day. It was great to see everybody. Now, some upcoming events now on June 3rd. It's the Dutch Hill Flea Market, so there are still available spots if you'd like to sell your goods. And that is going to be at Maine Memorial Park. And again, it's the Dutch Hill Flea Market, Saturday, June 3rd, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then the Relay for Life will be happening on June 10th, and that is going to be from 2 p.m. until Sunday, 2 a.m., and that's happening at the Clifton Stadium. So please definitely go to that. It's for a great cause. And then Amazing Foods of Clifton will be held at the Boys and Girls Club of Clifton. That's on Monday, June 19th from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. So definitely consider attending that and get some wonderful food.
Hi, everyone. So Memorial Day is this coming Monday. Here's the festivities. Starting at 6 a.m., the Avenue of Flags will be set up at City Hall. 8:15 a.m., the Fire Department Memorial Service will be held at Fire Station 5 on 51 Brighton Road. 9 a.m., the Memorial Day Parade will be from the Clifton Ave Extension and Allwood Road down to Chelsea Park. 8:30 a.m., the Albion VFW Post Memorial Service will be on Valley Road. Another 9:30 Allwood Memorial Service will be at Chelsea Park. That's the one that follows the parade. 11 a.m. will be a citywide Memorial Day service at Maine Memorial Park. 12 noon, the Military Order of Purple Heart service will be at the Clifton Library. 12:30 will be Post 347's Memorial Service at the Clifton Recreation Center. That's 1132 Main Ave. And 2 p.m. the Athenia Veterans Post Memorial Service will be located on Huron Ave. And then at 7 p.m. the Avenue of Flags will be taken down at City Hall. So make sure you stop by. It's really beautiful. And that's it.
Thank you. We'll see you at the parade.
Welcome back, and thanks for the updates. Please try to support these events that the girls let us know about during the update section. A lot of these are for good causes, so if you can, please try to support us. They're all good Clifton functions, and they're good for causes. Summer is almost upon us, and of course we know what that means. a lot of activities in sports, and especially baseball and Little League. Now, we know a lot of kids are involved in this, and a lot of kids partake in the activities of baseball, but what about the kids that really can't do this, maybe some children with special needs? Well, fortunately, we have a man that's been involved in this for a while, and he brings this sport for these children. Let's welcome Mr. Mike Soccol. He's the manager of the Clifton Roads
Thanks so much for
Wildcats
coming.
Challenge
Appreciate
team. Mike's the manager of the Clifton Roads. So, Mike, tell us about Roadies. Oh, sorry. Okay, Roadies. Tell us about the Clifton Roadies Wildcats.
We're a special needs team, ages 6 to 21. 21 is really not the cutoff, but if by 21, if the kids are strong or they can hurt somebody, after 21 they can't play.
Right.
But I have kids on my team over 30 years old.
Wow.
But we play 3 innings of baseball. We have a full schedule. We play all over North Jersey, and it's a lot of fun. The kids are very interested, and they, as long as you just put on a uniform, they're happy.
Right.
Mike, I know we work together, but tell me how you got involved. How many years ago was it?
27. And I never, when I was in my 40s, I never knew anybody who had special needs, and I was a bread man. And to show you how things in your life can change in 1 second, I was delivering bread to the Grand Union, and as I was bringing my bread into the store, I looked up an aisle like this for 1 second, and I thought I saw my son, this is 6:30 in the morning, who was only 10 at the time, with some lady. And it just drove, I just couldn't believe what I saw, and I ran up the aisle, and I came up in front of them, and I was going to say, "What are you doing with my son?" Because he looked just like my son from the back. But when I turned and I saw who it was a boy with Down syndrome.
Right.
And that changed my whole life. And
well, do you have a child with special needs?
No.
No,
No,
so
I don't.
So
I
this is the story how you got involved in this.
Well, this is what started me on this.
Right.
His name was CB, and we became friends. I introduced myself, and I told his mother that I couldn't believe what I saw. That how much, from the back, he looked just like my son. And me and CB became friends for about 2 months. And he was a diehard Mets fan. And all he would do, he would come by me, help me put my bread on the shelf, and we talked Mets. That's all he cared about was the Mets. Every day he had a Mets shirt on. And about 2 or 3 months of our friendship, his mother told me that they were leaving because she was sick. I never saw him. His name was CB. And to tell you, I just realized this. His name was CB, but the name of the group is Challenger Baseball CB.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Which to me, and after 27 years, I don't know why it popped into my head.
Wow.
So how did the team and the coaching staff, how did you form this?
In 1991, Clifton Eastern Division started the Clifton Challenger team.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It was an offspring of Saddlebrook.
Okay.
Saddlebrook was the main city for all of the North Jersey Challenger teams.
Right.
And Clifton was one of the tributaries. Well, whatever, branches.
Yeah, a branch,
right.
I guess.
Right. And it was in a newspaper. They wanted volunteers. So I said, "Oh my God, this is my chance now. I could help out at least with the kids." And when I went, there were 20 kids and 22 coaches and a couple of guys who came and who were volunteers. And after the game, the head of Eastern Division asked me if I wanted to be the manager, which was to me a miracle.
Wow.
And I said, "Absolutely."
And so here we are, how many years down the road?
27 years later.
And we're out of Clifton, obviously.
I moved the team from Eastern to Western the year after.
So we're
because I've been in Western Division since 1974.
So where are the home games played?
In Surgeon Park.
Surgeon Park. Are there away games too?
We play more away games than home, and that's all in North Jersey, in Bergen County.
Well, North Jersey or Bergen County.
Right.
Okay,
right.
I mean, that's nice that you got involved with the children because, you know, everyone wants to be involved in things and someone has to, you know, take care of everyone. And sports is important for all children, you know, for the activity. If someone's watching the show and they have a child or someone that would be interested in this, how would they go about getting in contact with you or the challengers?
Yeah, just look up my name in City Hall.
Okay,
I work at City Hall.
Right. I mean, we'd like to thank Mike. It's great that he does this great service for people. It's strictly all volunteer. I'd like to congratulate him. And if someone really has someone that wants to do this, a child or someone, please contact Mike at the City Hall. I know he'll get back to you immediately. Mike, thank you very much for the information. I appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Old man rhythm is in my shoe. There ain't no use in sitting singing the blues. Be my guest, you got nothing to lose. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Ooh-wee, baby. Ooh-wee, baby. Ooh-wee, baby. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Be like jumping, baby, won't you join me, please?
That's it for tonight's episode of Meet Clifton. We hope you had as much fun as we did. Thanks again to everyone that made the Centennial Parade on Sunday so memorable. And thanks to my cast and crew for all that they do, particularly my co-host George Silva and the Two Tones Orchestra for the great music they provide. Until next time, be good to your friends and family, respect your neighbors, keep Clifton close to your heart. This is a great city. Thank you, God bless, and good night.